Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
We'll begin with the first in line, 26-106, Kennedy Brennan versus Andrew Klingel. We've got Miss Brennan here in court, Mr. Klingel on Zoom. All right. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
And I know both parties for this case, as well as parties for the other case that's on for today, have been to court before recently, and also heard my introduction on unlawful harassment hearings. So I understand it might be a bit repetitive. I'm not going to take as much time as I usually do because I know the folks here have heard it. But I do think it's a good idea to always start these hearings by at least having a refresher for folks on what we're doing here this morning. I'll wait for Mr. Klingel to, get back. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go over the legal elements for unlawful harassment, because again, I think it's always beneficial to start these hearings having the legal requirements top of mind before we get into testimony from the parties. So I'd like to start by defining unlawful harassment. There are 6 elements to unlawful harassment. The petitioner in these cases, so the folks here in court, have what's called the burden of proof of proving all 6 elements exist by what's called a preponderance of the evidence, which is a fancy way of saying more likely than not. So it's more likely than not that each of these 6 elements exists. The first element is a knowing and willful course of conduct. That's a pattern of behavior evidencing continuity of purpose, essentially that there's an ongoing pattern of behavior that is knowing and willful, and that is intended to be essentially a continuous event. Number 2, that knowing and willful course of conduct is directed at a specific person. Number 3, that knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person is done so without any legal or legitimate purpose. And this, I think it's helpful to take a little bit of time and talk about what it means for legitimate purpose. That is, some factors the court looks at and whether or not the contact is legitimate are things like, was the contact initiated by the respondent? Was it initiated by the petitioner? Is the communication dynamic between the two? Or was there clear notice given from the petitioner to the respondent to stop contact, and contact persists nonetheless? Another thing the court looks at is, does the behavior or the communication, is there evidence that it has the purpose of or the effect of unreasonably interfering with the petitioner's privacy, or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive living environment for the petitioner? So again, does that behavior have the purpose? So is there evidence that the respondent is attempting to interfere with the petitioner's privacy or create an intimidating or hostile or offensive living environment? Or does it have the effect of that? Should the respondent know that this behavior or this communication is having that kind of effect? So that's what we were talking about when there's without lawful or legitimate purpose. Number 4, that the knowing and willful course of conduct, which is directed at a specific person without legitimate or lawful purpose, that it's designed to alarm, annoy, or harass the petitioner. So that's where we look at, is there evidence of the purpose of behind this sort of behavior? Number 5, does that behavior or communication, would it cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress? So it's not just that the petitioner feels aggrieved to a level of substantial emotional distress, but is that reasonable? Is that a reasonable reaction? And number 6, then, does the petitioner actually feel substantial or emotional distress? So those are the 6 elements of unlawful harassment. I will be going back to those elements as folks provide testimony. If I have questions about an element, maybe being missed or needing some more information on that. And so keep that in mind when folks provide testimony. Ma'am, you here for work?
This is my mom.
Your mom?
Can she come up here? Is that okay?
She's okay to sit up there. Okay. I can only take testimony from non-parties if I make certain findings. So I may not hear from you, but as far as sitting at council. Okay. Of course. All right. So those are the legal elements of unlawful harassment. From ground rules for today, as far as providing testimony, is parties address me, don't address each other. I think that actually gets a little bit more difficult when we have some parties in the courtroom and some on Zoom. I think it becomes a little bit easier to start talking to each other. And so it's really important that you direct your comments towards me. So that's number one. And number two, if litigants start talking to each other or, language starts to get out of hand, these hearings are primarily conducted through the exhibits that have already been submitted, and testimony is an opportunity for the judicial officer to ask questions and learn a little bit more about the allegations. And so if I find that testimony is starting to become inappropriate, I can cut it off and just make a decision based on what I've heard already. So keep that in mind, and fair warning to folks that I will do that. And again, I already hit it, but the last thing I'll say is testimony in these proceedings, I like to have it be a little less formal. So rather than come up and read a prepared statement, I think sometimes that's fine, particularly if there's a lot you'd like to summarize and you want to keep your thoughts organized, that's fine. This is primarily, though, an opportunity for me to ask folks questions about what's already been submitted. So please keep that in mind as well. All right, so as far as the procedure goes, I'll start by swearing in the petitioner, because again, it's their burden of proof. I'll hear testimony from the petitioner, then I'll hear testimony from the respondent. Sometimes I'll let the petitioner get the last word since it is their petition, and then make a decision. So with that said, again, we're here with matter 26-106. Kennedy Brennan is the petitioner. She's here in courtroom. Ma'am, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth? All right. And before you get started, another thing that I think is sometimes helpful is for me to give a bit of an overview of my understanding of the record. I believe I did this last week as well. Before folks start testifying, that way you can kind of see where I'm coming from and some things that I think may be missing or questions I have. And for your case, I do have some questions that I think some testimony from you might be helpful. So I was not the judicial officer that granted the temporary order, but a temporary order was granted. And having reviewed the petition, I'm reasonably confident that it was granted because there were allegations in the petition of you had alleged that Mr. Klingel had sent you photos of him holding a gun, has made you feel unsafe on multiple occasions, stated things like he would engage in self-harm, things like you don't want to see me get mad, things that we do generally grant temporary orders for. I've had a chance to review the exhibits that you've uploaded, and it would be helpful to see where those allegations are substantiated in the exhibits. And if you'd like to point me in the direction of some of the exhibits, I do have them up now. What I've reviewed is it looks like the Zelle messages are up, and I see those, and I do have some questions about those too. But what I viewed was missing from the file so far is information on those allegations from your original petition. And so if you'd like to provide some testimony on those allegations, if there's evidence in the file, maybe you could point me into the direction of those. But I would like to know a little bit more about those allegations in your original petition. And that's number one. And then number two, it seems to me like the vast majority of what has been filed in the last week are these Zelle messages. And so background information on those, timeline. I said earlier, legitimate communication, whether communication is legitimate or not, includes things like, was the respondent given clear notice that no more communication is welcome, and then they communicate despite that. So if there was, in your view, clear communication to Mr. Klingel to stop contacting you, information on when that may have been and how that was communicated would be helpful as well. So those are the two things that I'm thinking about when I'm looking through the file. So,
Your Honor?
Mr. Klingel, you'll have your chance next. Yep.
Okay.
So, Ms. Brennan, with that, you're sworn in. So go ahead.
So as far as like the self-harm, can you see the picture in there that I submitted? There was a text message and he was holding a gun and he sent me a picture. Can you see that in there?
All right. So let's see.
Because
I've got two batches of exhibits. One has 101 pages. One has 11 pages. Do you know which batch it's in?
probably the 101 pages. Sorry, there was a lot.
It's okay. Let's see. So there's a picture of him holding a gun, you say?
Yes,
Okay.
it's in there. It was I like screenshotted it from my phone. So it should just be like a text message type deal.
Do you recall the date of the text?
Oh, it was months ago.
All right. Was it? All right. I see. There's a text that says, I believe it's from Mr. Klingel. I'm probably better dead than sorry we met. Goodbye.
Yes.
Is it that one?
Yeah.
Okay. And that text you say has the picture of the gun?
Yes.
I
Can you see it?
I see a very grainy picture.
I have
That's-
the picture on my phone if you can look at that. If that's okay. Because I had to print all these off because it wasn't letting me like email everything over. So it's not very like clear.
All right. Well, let's hold off on whether that's something we need to look at. So you're saying the text where the text says probably better dead. Sorry we met. Goodbye. That text accompanied a picture of him holding a gun.
Yes.
Okay.
And can I add something?
Mhm.
So there's like I wasn't able to really submit anything over this like encounter, but I was at his house one night and he threatened to kill himself multiple times. And that was the night that he was telling me that I didn't want to see him get mad, like all this stuff. He made me pack up all my stuff and get in his car. And then I got in the car and then he looked at me and said, I can't drive, I've been drinking. So then he made me get all my stuff out of the car and I said I was going to get an Uber. So then he took my phone and then I went and slept in one of his kids' room and then he came in there and he wouldn't stop. Like it was just like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. Like, please talk to me, like all this stuff. And I just kept asking him like, please get out, please get out, please get out. And this went on for hours, I felt like.
When was this about?
This was a few months ago. Like 4 months ago, maybe. And I had texted my mom that night that I was scared.
All right. And one reason why it's tough for me to follow along with the date is the way, cell phone screenshots work is they give you the time, but they usually don't say what date it's on. So that's
Sorry.
that's
I
okay.
wasn't really thinking.
No, that's all right. All right. But you're saying that the some of the threats to self-harm and the statements like you don't want to see me get mad, those were in person.
Yes,
So there's
yeah.
Okay.
Not all of it was over text.
All right. And then the original petition, you'd stated that he makes me feel unsafe on multiple occasions. Is that in reference to this, that incident? And then are there any others you'd like to talk
Just
about?
like I mean, all the messages, like everything. It doesn't stop. It feels like it never ends. Oh, he told me that when he lived in California, he killed somebody. I don't know.
All right. And then the Zelle messages, can you tell me a little bit about those?
So I had blocked him because I just finally got to my breaking point, and I thought to myself, like, I can't keep doing this.
Do you remember when you blocked him?
Can I look at my phone real quick? Is that okay?
Yeah, if
To
you're just
see,
trying to
like, the
refresh.
date?
Yeah,
Okay. So I blocked him 3/26/2026. That was the day I had texted him, and I texted him to leave me alone and to go away. And then I blocked him.
I did see I don't have it in front of me, but I did take a note that on March 26th, there's a text from you to Mr. Klingel asking him to leave you alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Zelle messages started happening, which that's always been a thing because I've blocked him multiple times. And then he'll Zelle me, and it's, just like 4 or 5 Zelles a day. And it's so Zelle is like sending money. Right. And I had him blocked on email because he would make new emails and he would email me off those. He would email me off his son's email. So I had to block all those emails. And then he would Zelle me. I didn't know how to block him through Zelle because it's like linked through my bank account. So I'm not really too sure how you do that. And he would just like, he'd send me money with like these notes attached. It would be like, I'll give you $5,000 if you hang out with me. Like, just tons of stuff. Like, you can see it in there, and it wouldn't stop. And that was after I blocked him. It just kept going and going and going.
Yeah, I see because again, a lot of the messages are kind of date stamped for a time, but not a date. I think I see one that's from March 30th. But generally speaking, were these were after March 26th?
It was, and it just kept going. Yeah, it was like, I can't remember if he emailed me on that day. It might have been the next day it started, but it was just like email after email, or Zelle, because he couldn't email me.
Okay. Has there been any other contact since March 26th besides Zelle, or is that?
If you count him contacting my father.
Right, I see. Right. Okay, so and I do see that in the file here too. So
and my mom actually also contacted him the day that I came here to file. My mom contacted him and let him know, you might want to, leave my daughter alone. She's going to get a restraining order. Just giving you a heads up. And then it was that Friday that I filed, and then Monday I had court, and then he Apple paid me after I had my court hearing, after the protection order was set in place. He had Apple paid me $5.
But he hadn't been served, so he wasn't like officially on notice.
Right. Okay. All right. Understood. Okay. Thank you. And I imagine Mr. Klingel is going to go into his exhibits, and so it will be helpful for me to get an understanding of where you're coming from before I turn it over to him. So Mr. Klingel's exhibits are text messages between the two of you. I think I was able to look at dates essentially November through last couple months.
Yeah.
Where a lot of communication between the two of you oscillates between friendly and angry. It seems like you had a pretty dynamic relationship, and it's a lot of text about reflecting that over the last several months. And so, Mr. Klingel will speak more to those. I think, again, some of the date stamps are tough. I see one March. I'm looking at his exhibits. One recent is March 19th. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Mr. Klingel, how this started, and what led to you blocking him?
Okay, so I met him like last year, and I had met him through Instagram. We hung out one night. We went to the bar. When I first met him, he lied to me and told me that he was 34. He also told me that he didn't have kids. Come to find out a month later, he has 2 kids. He's not 34, he's 40. And it was just, the whole relationship was founded on lies. And then it just, as time went on, there was something that had happened one night. We went to the casino and I had gone out to sit in the parking lot, and then he came out and was accusing me of trying to sleep with some random man in the parking lot. And then in that moment, I knew like that this is not what I wanted for myself. And I told him that. And then it was just like love bombing. It was like gifts and money and this and that. And he was taking me to fancy dinners, and then he was doing this and he was doing that. And so I just feel like I was very enamored by all of these things that were happening because I'd never really experienced anything like that. And so it was love bombing. Like I didn't want to be with him, and he knew that. And then it's like I would block him, and then he would, email me, or he would send me money, and it would be like, I'll take you here, I'll do this for you, I'll buy you this, I'll buy you that. And it's like he was constantly ordering me stuff. He bought me a car, like all this kind of stuff. So it was hard for me at that point in time to get away. He helped me like with my bills and stuff and just stuff like that. And so that's pretty much what it was. I mean, we only dated for like a month and a half. And then I realized that he had lied to me about a ton of stuff. I mean, he bought me a dog, and then I had to move out of my apartment. It's just like, I mean, there was a lot of resentment from me there. And then he would like do stuff for me. So then I'd be like, oh, okay, it's fine. And then something would happen and I would be like, no, this is not what I want for myself. So yeah, there was a lot of hostility because I was very unhappy and because it was very manipulative.
And so you brought up the money. I think a good chunk of the exhibits from Mr. Klingel involve money, it sounds like. So
yeah.
So is it fair to characterize it as while you were dating, was he sort of sending you money for things that you needed or asked for?
He sent me money all the time.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And like he offered most of the time.
And then what, can you speak a little bit about leading up to March 26th and what caused I mean, you've already sort of outlined, love bombing. You've mentioned, a few incidences as well that, you say made you feel scared. Is there anything specifically around March 26th that resulted in the blocking?
It was just, I mean, he was like accusing me of like sleeping with some guy, like, and we weren't even dating. And I was just over it. That's not what I wanted for myself. I didn't feel safe. I mean, there was tons of stuff that had happened throughout the relationship, whatever you want to call it. And I didn't want that for myself. I mean, I was at the bar one night and he picked me up and then he like ran inside because I was hanging out with my 2 friends and he wanted to see who was in there. And he like went in there and was talking to them and they were just kind of like, what are you doing? It was just, there was like so much stuff that had happened. It's really hard, like, for me to even reflect on all of it. All right. Thank you, Ms. Brennan. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Klingel, and I'll swear him in. And so, Mr. Klingel, you'll have this your opportunity to respond. I do want to, try and focus the response to, we're not here to sort of, litigate necessarily the nature of your relationship together, and whether there was lies and deceit or anything like that. You'll have your chance to sort of characterize it to the extent it's relevant to today's hearing. And you asked Ms. Brennan about your relationship, and you'll have a chance to respond there. But really, for purposes of today's hearing, what I'm concerned with and what I'd like specific information around from you is kind of similar to what I asked her about, which is, number one, there's allegations of you threatening self-harm, sending pictures holding a gun, and
that there is, so information about that specifically, I'd like to know more about from your perspective. Number two, with these Zelle messages, what was going on there as far as contact to Miss Brennan, after that March 26th kind of notice to stop. And then, I think it is fair if you want to talk about your relationship. I know your exhibits are, again, I think it's primarily text messages between the two of you during your relationship. It's hard for me to get a sense of the timeline. But if you'd like to provide a little context about, why these are the messages you felt were necessary for today's hearing as well, you can talk about those. But the things I'm really concerned about are the threats for self-harm, holding the gun, and comments like "don't want to see me get mad," and then the communication over Zelle more recently, I think is top of mind for me. So with that in mind, sir, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, Your Honor, I didn't see the evidence. You said something about 101 pages. That I didn't see that online. So that's what I was trying to clarify, so I could skim over real quick to see what was talked about.
Well, it's in the court file, so it's accessible the same way your exhibits are accessible. Looks like they were uploaded, at least uploaded on our end last Wednesday.
Okay, because when I'm on the website, the only thing I see from her is exhibits where there's 11 screenshots.
Okay.
I'll take a look on that.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, if she
I'm
opened,
going to look at what's in the batch of 11 too. We've got, and we're checking to see what we can see through the website.
okay.
It is.
He goes all the way to the very end, page 10, and clicks on pet exhibits.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So we just accessed the court file from the website the way you would have done it, and it looks like they all are all there. PET exhibits. There's I'm looking at it now. There's one with the 11 and one with the 101.
Okay, well, do you know what page it's on, or?
It's right underneath. There's a list of folders. You go into it's PET exhibits, and then there's two line items, and they're each the different batches of exhibits. One has 11 pages and one has 101 pages.
Okay, so it's all in the same one then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. So what it is primarily is, again, the dates I can't suss out exactly, but according to Miss Brennan, and I can see at least one from March 30th, is these are Zelle payments from you to her. I guess I can see actually, yeah. They're throughout, looks like Zelle payments throughout March, some before and some after March 26th. Okay. And then there's messages as well. So there's one, so I'm looking at one March 30th, payment of $1, and the message is $50 to unblock. And so there's things of that nature. Another one, unblock, send you 100.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wish I could see these because I don't believe that was sent after March 25th. So I'm on all I see is 1 out of 11 on. So it says, what it says on mine is March 25th, 2, waste of time, March 25th, and then exhibits. I click on exhibits and there's only 11, there's 11 things.
Are you looking at a link, ET exhibits?
How do I get to ET exhibits? Is that on a different?
Have to click on the 10th page.
10th page. Okay, so there should be
the 10th page?
you can click on individual pages of exhibits. You go to page 10, which is the last page in the file.
And he'll see the pet exhibits file.
So go to page 10,
Okay, all right.
and then there's a file titled PET exhibits.
All right, the last thing I'm seeing is 11, and it says, it's the message where the petitioner states, oh yeah, I've gone on dates, don't you worry. That's the last thing I see. That's all.
Well, so the exhibits, they're there to support and substantiate allegations. And obviously that's something that I can't tell you what's going on there. I mean, we're able to see it online.
Okay.
As far as the allegations, though, of it's kind of messaging her through Zelle by making looks like small payments, some as small as a penny, and then sending a message as part of that. That is the allegation here against you. The exhibits are intended to support and substantiate those allegations.
All right.
So to that, do you have, you're able to testify as far as that allegation?
Okay. Yeah. I was just trying to find it so I could prove that those happened months ago, but I can't see it. But I guess where I could start from when she's talking about the gun, I don't see that either, but so this is why the car was relevant to the case, because I bought a Mercedes October 9th, which I submitted. I bought a Mercedes October 9th. Around the middle of November, she gets pregnant, and so on the 21st of November, the petitioner states, if you basically lists out a bunch of demands and says, if you meet all these demands, which included putting her on the title of my car, she will cancel the appointment. So the 21st, which I've submitted documents that I did it that day, not of genuine consent, but under duress. I did it that day, added her to the title, and then by the 25th, so 4 days later, the petitioner stated that they made a new appointment, I don't know if I'm allowed to say abortion appointment, but a new doctor's appointment for the 25th. And then after that, which had I seen these files on here from Wednesday, 2 days ago, I would have submitted evidence. But anyway, so the 25th, the petitioner mentions she gets a new appointment, and then I send a picture. I'm probably better off dead. I'm sorry. That's a comment under duress. It's not a comment of her hurting anyone. It's what the petitioner did. I was distressed. I put her on the title. She made a new appointment 4 days later. So I can't, so that's that. It's not that's what it was. And she's deliberately trying to deceive that it was anything other than that. And I couldn't submit evidence because I didn't see this. And so then we go to March. We'll go to March. So, even on February. So I submitted the evidence the best I could without timelines, without dates, without knowing what the petitioner was talking about on most things. So February rolls around, it's her birthday. She asked me to take her to dinner for her birthday. And then we roll around to March 3rd, I believe I submitted evidence. She reaches out to me. Hey, do you want to get drinks? So we went to the Brick. So we hung out March 3rd, March 5th, March 11th, March 12th, March 13th, March 17th, March 20th, she spends the night. March 23rd, she asked me to hang out and I say no. March 24th, she asked me to hang out and have sex. I say no. March 25th, she asked me to hang out, in which she states her mom is gone. And that's not including, I also sent evidence of the text messages that we had shared about 4,000 messages since January. So it's unreasonable for me to have known that my messages caused distress. We hung out on seven different occasions in March. And then she asked me to hang out on I think the total was about 14 times in March. She reached out to me to hang out. So March 25th, she asked me to hang out. Hey, my mom's gone. And she asked me for $2,000 to help her move into a new apartment, which it was kind of like a gray area. I didn't say no, I didn't say yes, but she knew that it was leaning towards no. So she, I guess, blocked me because I wasn't giving her the money, not done out of fear. So I wouldn't give her the money. And then, and before she blocks me, she asked me for a couch to order. She asked me, like I said, the money apartment. So a lot of the Zelle, I never send her money after March asking her to unblock me. I mentioned to her that Housemaids was on Stars. I mentioned to her miss you. Nothing on Zelle was hostile, threatening, and like I've said in the message or in the evidence I've sent, one day in November, I believe it is November 11th, she said, "Leave me alone," 21 times. And then she asked me to get a hotel room. And I submitted all this. So it's unreasonable for me to know what's true. It was just her radical figure of speech. And so all I really had was 11 documents. And just to touch on the 11 documents I saw, she mentions in one of them, it was how I make up stuff and how I lie. But anyways, I don't know what date that was, but I submitted evidence just when I was going through my stuff. I submitted evidence, and you guys have it listed under Manipulate 5. So she sent that stuff, and then on Manipulate 5, it's her asking, it's her demeaning me, and then Manipulate 5, she's asking me for June's dog food. She's asking me for stuff, and then by 8:00 at night, she was asking me to buy her flowers. And this was a pattern that I showed numerous times. She would bully me, demean me, criticize me, and then ask me for stuff. And then if I didn't meet her demands, she would threaten to block me. It wasn't done out of fear. It was a coercive control / like emotional abuse. So for me it was just how it was. I would just get emotionally abused, and I didn't know what was true. It was just constant. It was constant.
All
And
right,
sorry.
That's all right. So I think I understand what you're saying. I want to get some responses from Miss Brennan so Miss Brennan, back to you. So a couple of things that Mr. Klingel uploaded that do have some timestamps that I think are worth looking at is a text exchange from March 25th, in which it appears that, and this is dated, the title of the exhibit is March 25. And it looks like you ask him, "Are you awake?" Then there's no response. "I'm sorry, why am I being ignored?" A couple of times you're asking basically if he's ignoring you. I see this reference to "my mom's gone." So, and then it sounds like March 26th, then, there's the block. And so I'm just curious if you have, and it looks like the last one I see on March 25th might be from 8:00 in the evening. Picture of you, and I think maybe June is the dog. Do you have, so on that front, as far as the asking that he not contact you again on March 26th, sounds like what Ms. Klingel here is saying is, up until then, there was essentially sounds like request from you to talk to him and didn't want to be ignored by him. Do you have any response to that?
Well, I think that it was just very manipulative. Like that's where the money comes in. Like that's why I asked him for stuff, because that's what it was. He would send me money. He would offer to buy me things. I would block him. And then he would send me money. You know, he'd be like, I'll buy you this. I'll buy you that. I'll do this for you. I'll do that for you. I mean, there was a point in February where I had not spoken to him. Like there was a big point in February where he had been blocked and he just kept zelling me and zelling me and zelling me and zelling me. And I left him blocked. And then I do not remember the reason that I unblocked him. It was probably, I mean, he would just email me these things and be like, oh, I'll give you this much money if you unblock me. I'll give you this much money if you unblock me. So it's like, it got to a point where I would just unblock him because he would send me money. And I was like, okay, so that's essentially what it was, is it was a very manipulative, toxic situation. I mean, he showed up to my house one night. He had ordered me like some clothes that I had wanted, and he'd had these for a few months, but he had been blocked. So I never got them. And that's where you can see in the emails, he emails from his son's account, hello, I'm in Olympia today, was going to drop your dairy boy off, but you're not responding, something like that. He's emailing me from his son's email because he's blocked. And he eventually came over and he dropped it off. This was probably, I don't know, this was like maybe a month ago. And he shows up and I'm like, okay, like you can drop it off. And, you know, I don't really want you to be here. And then he proceeds to tell me that he has a brain tumor. That's what he texted me, that he has a brain tumor. And he just wants to be around somebody and all this stuff. Like that's stuff that he would do to me. It was very, very manipulative.
And then, so I heard Mr. Klingel talk about back in November, there was, sounds like that may have been around when the two of you earlier in the relationship, and there was conversation about I think an abortion, and then a list of, essentially he alleged there a list of demands, and then you wouldn't get one. And think, do you want to talk? Do you have a response to what he was saying there?
Well, I think that, so actually initially, if I wish I would have submitted it, but he offered to put, like he offered that. He said, if you don't get an abortion, I'll put the car in your name. That was his idea, not mine. And there's text messages where I tell him, no, that's like not a bargaining token. And then I was like, okay, like maybe I can do that. And then that's what we agreed to. And I think it was Thanksgiving. I was at my mom's house. He went nuts on me, went crazy, was accusing me of all this stuff, texting me, blowing my phone up. I was with my friend Addison, and he just went crazy. And then I think it was a day or two after that or something, I scheduled my appointment because I was like, I'm not doing this. And he had already put the car in my name. And to be honest, I don't really think that the car has much to do with me wanting a restraining order. I mean, there's like, yes, there's a lot of back and forth, but I mean, there's also a pattern.
Do the two of you have, at this point, do the two of you have any reason to communicate, or do you share any property? I understand there's this argument over the car, but.
No, I want no communication with him. That's.
Well, Your Honor, we're both on that. Oh.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Mr. Klinger. You'll have a chance to testify again, because I do have some follow-up questions.
So we are both on the car title. So I guess, I mean that, but that's probably something that he's would have to take me to court for. Like different court. But other than that, no, I mean, I don't want contact with him because it's just like, he stated that he did not email me after the 26th. Yes, he did. You can see in the Zelle's, it's the 29th, the 30th, the 31st. My mom had to text him and let him know because he would not leave me alone. I did not want to unblock him and have to text him and tell him to leave me alone because I had already told him, leave me alone. There was just a lot that had led up to this. Yes, I did things that I'm not proud of, obviously. But it was very manipulative. Like, I'm young and naive at times, and I just was being showered with these gifts and these words and stuff that was untrue. And then finally I got to my breaking point, and this is, I don't want contact with him. That was my whole point. I have had enough, essentially.
And so outside of the car situation, there's no reason for the two of you to interact or
No,
communicate.
not at all.
All right. So Mr. Klingel, back to you. So it sounds like both of you are on the title for this Mercedes. In your view, at this point, is there any reason for the two of you to communicate or have anything, friends or property in common, anything like that? Apart from
Your Honor, no, but if I could add some things.
Yeah, and I think so. At this point, I think both sides have had an opportunity to kind of summarize their exhibits and make their points, because there has been a lot of back and forth and kind of given the volume of exhibits and things like that. I think it makes sense to give each side a couple of minutes to kind of offer some concluding remarks. So, Mr. Klingel, we're with you, so we'll stay with you. And so, if there's I'm not going to put a time limit on it necessarily, but we'll definitely keep it under 5 minutes. But so if you have some concluding remarks you'd like to make, go ahead. Now's your opportunity.
Okay. Well, Your Honor, so in the petition, the word threatened was mentioned 5 times. The message, well, I haven't seen all 100 messages, but the message evidence that I saw, there was no threats ever made. I didn't threaten to shoot myself. It was, I'm probably better dead. And yeah, I don't know. I had some prepared, but then there was so much testimony that she added that wasn't on the petition, and stuff that was on the petition wasn't talked about. But I just asked that it be dismissed. I wanted it to be dismissed with prejudice because there was no threats ever made. I submitted evidence of the mom calling me December 6th after the whole abortion thing. I made a police report December 6th stating to the officer that I just didn't feel safe. And she mentions manipulation, but I've submitted multiple pieces of evidence of the petitioner reaching out to me saying, I need money, I'll have sex with you. I need this, I'll send you pictures. And I've submitted all that. So it was, a lot of the conflict was mutually aggressive, in which I can't see what she submitted. But if you add the timelines, the majority of the time, the petitioner was the instigator. And yeah, that's what I had to say, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Klingel. Ms. Brennan, over to you. I think.
Can I add something that's really important?
Well, so how about this? So I can hear from non-parties if their testimony would be what's called necessary and material. Necessary being I can't make a decision essentially without hearing from them, and material being that they're relevant to the allegations here. And so I think before swearing you in, if you maybe want to tell me what's the nature of what you'd like to add.
He just brought me up.
Mm-hmm.
He just said that.
So you'd like to respond to what he was saying there?
Most definitely.
Okay. All right. Well, given that you've been kind of brought in here, and you are referenced in the exhibits here, I think that does make sense. So, ma'am, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead. And make sure, though, that you do keep it limited to responding to how he's brought you into this.
Okay, so I can only reference what he just spoke about, or can I just reference just real quick?
I would like to just keep it to what he's referencing. Again, we have to be really careful when we bring in non-parties to testify. So if you want to at least start with responding to what he's brought up.
Okay, so this whole relationship has been crazy lies. Speaking of which, that he just brought up that he called the police on December 6th on me, which would have been a Sunday, after him and I got into a big, huge argument text and over the phone on December 5th about abortion, which is like not appropriate. He called me and told me that my daughter was pregnant and that she was going to get an abortion. And then he was blowing her up the weekend that she did it. So that Saturday, called her 10 or 15 times, texting her. I asked him to please leave her alone. Please, I'm begging you, stop. And I had done this several times in the course of this relationship, asked them, they needed to go their separate ways. This was toxic, it wasn't healthy. So back to what he was referencing, when we were last in court last Monday and he brought my name up and said that he was scared of me, I was like, what? Because I didn't understand. And when we left here, I called the police department twice. So he is lying because he did call the police on December 6th, and I spoke to Officer Parks, is who he spoke to. And I forgot it in my car, but I wrote everything down that they told me. And they said that he called about the car. Nothing was brought up about me. Nothing was brought up about safety. Nothing was brought up about anything. And they told him his name was Officer Parks, Sunday at like 1:30 or something. And they spoke to him over the phone and they told him it was a civil matter and there's no like pending case or anything. And I asked if I could get a copy of it. And the officer told me, well, you can, but there's really no point because it's exactly what I just told you. There was nothing about you, nothing about your daughter or harm or feeling unsafe or anything like that. It was about the car.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
So I mean, this is just establishing the base of everything out of his mouth is not necessarily the truth.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to hear from Miss Brennan next, Kennedy Brennan.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So I think, yeah, if you'd like to provide some last
Could I just
comments.
add that, because I feel like this is important. I was talking to my dad on Wednesday of last week, and I don't know if you can see it in there, but Andrew had reached out to my father after he had been served. So he had been served, I think it was December, or it was, I don't know what day it was. Was it April 7th? April 7th or April 8th? He had been served, and then he had reached out to my dad 30 minutes after he was served and sent my dad pictures of me. He sent my dad text messages between us. It was stating, your daughter's going to pull some or pin some bullshit like this on me. She had an abortion. She did this. She did that. All this stuff in retaliation to being served. And I just think that that's important because I feel like that is harassment at that point. I mean, he's reaching out to my family. Why does my dad need to know that? My dad doesn't need to know that. What happened was between him and I, not between him and my dad. I'm 27 years old. I'm not. And I just feel like that was inappropriate. I mean, right after he was served.
Well, he knew it would upset her father because he's super religious, and it did. After he'd already reached out to me about it, after he'd already sent me pictures, the day that I said that Kennedy was going to the courthouse with her father, he then said, okay. And then he said to me, oh, you want to bring the authorities into this? Probably not a good idea. And then he sent me a picture of Kennedy sleeping, holding her phone. He's like, this is your daughter doing drugs, doing this. I mean, it's just, and I'm like, okay. And I don't respond because I don't want to engage. Threatening to tell her brother because her brother's super religious what she did, which I mean, I don't condone what she did, but also in the same breath, all that has gone through over the last year, she's probably told him 50 times over the phone, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to talk to you. He's busted into my house, into my bedroom when I was like in my pajamas.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna try to stay focused. It's okay. But I do have a follow-up question. The page that has the text from Mr. Klingel to, I think, your father.
Yeah.
It also shows there was 6 photos. Those are
Those
the
are the
photos you're
text
referencing?
messages, yeah.
Okay. All right. So since I'm going to be careful to not keep going back and forth. So I think the last word before I make a decision here, Mr. Klingel, I'll let you kind of respond because I know now we've got testimony from Ms. Brennan and her mother here. And so I'll give you a last chance here. I want to keep it though to the allegations here about reaching out to Ms. Brennan's parents and family. There is in the 101 batch, but a April 7th text apparently from you to her father with some pictures. And so I'll give you a chance to respond to that, and then I'll make my decision.
Okay. Yeah, And Your Honor, they keep mixing words on and saying things that I'm saying that I didn't say. But I submitted evidence of the petitioner saying, at least I wasn't sexually or accused of sexually assaulting my own daughter, to where another time where she's the instigator. She says, I'm the dumbest mother effer. I mean, I submitted this. I'm the dumbest mother effer. She says all this, and then she goes on, and then the petitioner goes on to say, all my family knows what you have done. So I don't have it in front of me, but I've submitted, all my family knows what you have done. And so I didn't think it was threatening or illegal to defend your reputation when someone themselves said they told your family everything that you've done. So I didn't think it was illegal to defend your reputation. Also, she stated in the messages, go ahead and text them. He'd probably kick your ass. And also, I didn't think it was illegal or threatening to send messages that are mine, that I'm involved in. They've already been published. So yeah, I don't know. I live in Lewis County. I used to see these people at the gym. The petitioner stated I could send them. And also, like I said, it was defending my reputation. And also regarding the police thing, what I told the police officer, they write it down, and his name's not even Parks, but they write it down. I can't control everything he wrote down. But I did call on December 6th and spoke with them and filed a report. And I'm still in contact. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. So here's what I'm focused on, as I said in sort of the overview of the unlawful harassment statute. I pointed this out because this usually does become kind of a point of contention in these hearings. I'm looking at element number 3. Was there communication for a legitimate purpose? And factors the court looks at are things like, was there contact that was initiated by the respondent after given clear notice that further communication is unwanted, but then communication persists? The crux of the argument on that front is that there's relative agreement. I think that on or around March 6th, Ms. Brennan did give Mr. Klingel notice that she didn't want any further communication from him, and that there was at least some communication after that through these Zelle messages. Mr. Klingel's response is that if you put that communication in context, where just the day before, on March 25th in the evening, there was communication initiated by Ms. Brennan, the petitioner, and that this had also happened in the past, where Ms. Brennan asked that Mr. Klingel stop contacting him, and then communication continued. And so Mr. Klingel, we've provided some testimony that in that context, then March 26th wasn't necessarily clear notice, but it was reasonable for him to conclude that wasn't really notice that she wanted him to stop, because in the past that notice had been given, and then she re-engaged. And that's not a uncommon thing for respondents in these orders to point out, that there's a history where clear communication of not wanting contact anymore, that the person who says they don't want to be contacted then re-engages. And my position on that is that is not a valid argument. That may be accurate as far as what has happened in the past. But when somebody says that they don't want any further communication, even if they've said it in the past and then they re-engage you later, when they say they don't want any contact anymore, and they go as far as to block someone from communication, then that's clear notice that they don't want communication anymore. And persistent communication after that is not legitimate contact. And I think in this case, what adds to the strength of Miss Brennan's argument that this was not legitimate contact is the nature of the messages sent through Zelle. The messages would be, again, it looks like messages for as low as 1 cent to $1, which indicates to me that the purpose wasn't necessarily to send money, but to send a message. And then the content of the message, again, I'm just pulling some out of the exhibits: $50 to unblock. Unblock, I'll send you 100, $1,500 for dinner. Please, I'll be nice. Going to ignore me, I'm going to move on and talk to others. So that indicates to me that there was knowledge on the part of Mr. Klingel that Ms. Brennan had blocked him, didn't want any more communication, and that communication persisted through these Zelle messages. And so whether or not there was notice in the past for him to stop, that continued. Again, what I'm focused on is what happened more recently. And I think given the nature of the communication in March and after March 26th, I think that was communication made after there was clear notice that Ms. Brennan didn't want any further communication. I also find that it is relevant that while Ms. Brennan's parents and family were not parties to any kind of order, and they're still not, the nature of the communication from Mr. Klingel to Ms. Brennan in the last few weeks, I think that the nature of them being without a legitimate purpose is strengthened by the fact that there was some outreach to her parents that are of a nature that, while Mr. Klingel is categorizing it as wanting to defend his reputation to people who have been told things that are bad about him, and at the same time, it's reaching out to the protected party's parents when there is a temporary no contact order put in place, which is not a technical violation of that order, but I think that does provide some context to the type of communication that is at issue here. So I do find that Ms. Brennan has met her burden of proof in proving unlawful harassment by a preponderance of the evidence. As far as the restraint provisions, they're going to be a little bit different than what's in the petition. I'll go over those now so everyone's clear about what is and is not allowed. Is this the one? Yeah, okay. So given the nature of the communication that I'm finding to be unlawful harassment, I'm going to include a no contact restraint provision, and that's no contact, including non-physical contact directly, indirectly, through third parties, regardless of whether those third parties know about the order. And there is a built-in exception, which may be relevant here, except for service of court documents. So if there is any kind of litigation around title to this car, that's automatically built in as an exception here. But to the extent there's anything else, there's going to be that no contact provision. It sounds like the parties do not live near each other, and so I do think that because the nature of the relationship, and it sounds like there's been past visits to each other's homes, there's also going to be an exclude or stay away from provision. The default's to 1,000 feet, which doesn't sound like it's going to be a problem in this case, but it's 1,000 feet away from Miss Brennan, as well as her person, her home, and her work. I know there was a request in the petition with respect to stalking. That doesn't sound like that was really part of the petition. I understand the way stalking is described sometimes can get confused with anti-harassment, but I'm not going to include a no stalking behavior. And then simply, and then finally, there's going to be a no harm provision. So that is, do not cause any physical harm or other types of harm to the protected party. So those are going to be the restraint provisions. Given that the parties no longer have a relationship, don't have any other need to contact each other, I understand their both names are both on the title here. But those restraint provisions of do not do any harm, have no contact except for legal proceedings, and exclude or stay away from with 1,000 feet buffer, I think hopefully should protect Ms. Brennan here, as well as doesn't sound like it will interfere with Mr. Klingel's life too much as well. So I'll be signing that order today. Mr. Klingel, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Brennan, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. And Ms. Brennan's mother, I didn't actually catch your name.
Stacy.
Stacy, do you have any questions, ma'am?
No.
Okay.
So, no.
So the order will be in place for a year. Ms. Brennan, if you would like to renew the order, you're allowed to file a motion to renew anytime 90 days up to the expiration date, which will be a year from today. And then Mr. Klingel, so you know, if on a motion to renew protection order, the burden of proof switches to the respondent, who has to show a change in circumstances, essentially. So that's not here today, but that's how those work. All right. There's no more service requirements. Folks, we're all here today. You can get a copy of the order off the Thurston County District Court website. Mr. Klingel, if you have any trouble accessing the protection order, it sounds like you may have had some trouble accessing some exhibits, call the Thurston County District Court Civil Department, and they can maybe help you get a copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Klingel. And thank you, Ms. Brennan. You're all free to go.
$50 just to get an unblock from you. Got a brain tumor and a Mercedes too. Sending pennies on sale every single night. Texting your daddy just to start a fight. I put your name on the title of the Benz. Now the judge says that we can't be friends. No more love bombs, no more lies. 1,000 feet to cut the ties.